Hey everyone, how's it going? Forrest here, again with another installment of my complete analysis of all of J.S. Bach's chorale harmonizations. Today we're looking at Wallet Vil Ich dir geben, which translates to I want to bid you farewell. This is a fairly straightforward chorale. It's a relatively short one as well. We're going to hop right into the analysis. So 3 flats in the key signature. We start on E flat major, we end on E flat major, so I reckon we're in the key of E flat major. After our tonic triad, we have G, B flat, E flat, and B flat, which is E flat major over G. All that means is we have to change our figured bass to reflect first inversion. No need to reiterate the Roman numeral. And then we have E flat, G, and B flat, another E flat major chord. We just need to change the figured bass to reflect root position. And if we look ahead to our cadence, we have an imperfect authentic cadence in the key of C minor. So we're looking for a point on which we modulate to the key of C minor. And we have a zone here where we could possibly say that we modulate on either side. However, I'm inclined to believe the modulation happens here over this A flat chord, A flat, E flat, A flat, and C, which is a 4 chord in the key of E flat. And in the key of C minor, it is a 6 chord. We then have B natural, D, G, and D, which is G major over B, which is a 5-6 chord in the key of C minor, and then we get our C minor chord C, C, G, and E flat. And we get the same chord again where we get the fermata, so the cadence just has a redundant C minor chord. Okay, looking ahead, we have like a quasi-cadence here. It's definitely a cadential progression, but we don't have fermatas. I checked a couple of different versions, no fermatas. So it just has the ending, the longer note value, but continues right into the beginning of the A section. So after our C minor chord, we get another C minor chord, and this perfect authentic cadence, sorry, I didn't mention it is in the key of E flat major, so we're looking for a point on which we modulate back to the key of E flat, but I reckon it happens more towards the middle of the measure. We have C, E flat, C, and G, which is C minor in root position, no need to reanalyze, and then we have A, C, C, and F. That's F minor in first inversion, which is 4-6. And then we look on the next beat, we have F, C, A flat, and E flat, which is F minor 7 in root position. So we could just change the figure bass to reflect a root position 7 chord. And I think this is where we modulate back to the key of E flat major. This F minor 7 chord is 2-7 in the key of E flat. And then we get B flat, G, and E flat. That is E flat major over B flat, which is 1-6-4. And then we get B flat, F, and D, which is B flat major, that is our 5 chord, before we cadence on E flat major, E flat, B flat, G, and E flat, which is our tonic triad. Some people use a bracket here to signify the relationship between 1, 6, 4, and 5. They're often seen paired together. I don't think it's super integral. That's what you get when you mix the words super and integral, super integral to the analysis, but it's more a habit just from having studied with textbooks that use that conventionally. Looking ahead, we have what I'm calling a perfect authentic cadence in the key of B flat, but you might have it marked as a half cadence in the key of E flat, depending on how you hear it. And I feel like I originally started off hearing it as a half cadence, but I had that like Yanni Laurel effect, if you remember that thing, where if you listen to it long enough, you can switch it. And I feel like that's often something that happens with me. But if I was just looking at this particular cadence, I would hedge my bets and say it was in the key of B flat just because of its structure. We have the root of the chord in the melody, and typically speaking, that's indicative of an authentic cadence, not a half cadence, especially in Bach's chorales. But that's not necessarily true for all half cadences or authentic cadences. Sometimes we have imperfect authentic cadences that have the fifth of the chord in the melody like half cadences do. Sometimes we have half cadences that have the root of the chord in the melody, but here the line was blurred enough for me to feel more convinced by the convention rather than anything else. So I stuck with perfect authentic cadence for this analysis, and we're looking for a point in which we modulate to the key of B flat. Now granted, I think another thing that's probably more of a convincing factor, even more so than the root of the chord being in the melody, is the fact that we have like 3 A naturals preceding it, which really does a number in terms of tonicizing or bringing B flat into the role as the tonic. But we start off in the key of E flat. We have E flat, B flat, G, and E flat. That's another E flat major chord. We don't need to reanalyze. We have some passing tones in the upper voices. They don't really do anything to the harmony. And then we get E flat, B flat, and G. Another E flat major chord. So 3 E flat major chords in a row. Similar to how we had this bridge into the, I need to be careful with the word bridge. I guess it doesn't really have the same definition as it does with, like, you know, music that's written today, like song form, where there is a bridge in many cases, but this link between the end of the first phrase and the beginning of the second phrase, where we have 3 consecutive C minor chords. Here we have 3 consecutive E flat major chords, so maybe that's some type of harmonic motif. But after our E flat major chord, we have a passing 7th in the bass, and then we get C, E flat, C, and G. That's C minor, which is a 6 chord in the key of E flat, and in the key of B flat major, that is our 2 chord. We have another passing 7th in the bass here before we get A, F, C, and F. That's F major over A, which is 5, 6. And then we get a similar pattern to what we saw earlier, where we see a chord, and coincidentally it's another F chord. This time it's major rather than minor, but still 2 F chords. That's probably intentional. I feel like that's a little too coincidental for it not to be intentional. But afterwards we get a root position 7 chord, F, F, A, and E flat. So it's incomplete, but still a 5-7 chord in root position. So we'll just change the figure bass. There's a 7th. Is there a 5th in the chord? There is no 5th in the chord, so we'll actually change the figure bass to reflect that. I can be a little bit more accurate. So 7, 3, 7, 3. 7, 5, 3 gets the same point across, but we can be a little bit more granular with our figure bass so we can, you know, be accurate. It doesn't really change the analysis too much, but better to be accurate than to not be accurate. We then have B flat, F, B flat, and D. That's our tonic triad in root position. And I would argue this is really where the cadence happens, the same way that really the cadence happens at the beginning of this measure here. But instead of getting one redundant chord, we get 2 redundant chords. Here we have neighbor tones in 3 of the upper voices, or the 3 upper voices, that is. We have E flat, A, and C, which is like this little semblance of a neighboring 7th chord, but because we have the suspended B in the bass, I'm not going to analyze the chord there, but it's definitely there in spirit. It's like 90% there. We have the makings of it, but this B flat in the bass does not budge. Therefore, it's not going to make it into the analysis, but do know the fact that it is there. We then have another B flat chord, B flat, F, B flat, and D. No need to reanalyze. And then we have another B flat chord, B flat, D, F, and B flat. So no need to reanalyze. Very slow harmonic rhythm in this chorale, but it doesn't really feel that way because Bach is permuting the chord or rotating the chord pretty much every single time. So it's interesting to see how rotating and recontextualizing the chord through spelling can have that impact on the progression. Looking ahead, I think we stay in the key of B flat here, even though we have the secondary dominant beginning. You could make an argument that we do go to the key of E flat again briefly in this phrase, but I'm going to analyze it in B flat. That's just how it feels to me. I had it in my notes in the key of E flat, but after listening to it again, it felt more like B flat. And because the cadence is how I hear a perfect authentic cadence in the key of B flat, I don't really feel like there's a reason to reanalyze it in the key of E flat when there really isn't enough of a compelling reason to me. However, if you do hear this as a half cadence, you will be analyzing it in the key of E flat. But starting things off, we have another 5, or we have a tonic triad here, but it's being recontextualized as 5 of 4, more specifically 5, 4, 2 of 4, because B flat is the dominant of E flat, and E flat is our 4 chord, and this happens to be a dominant 7 chord over A flat, which is the 3rd inversion. And then we get G, E flat, B flat, and E flat, which is 4-6. That's how we would expect a 5-4-2 chord to resolve to the tonic in first inversion, because the 7th typically resolves down by step. Pretty much always, actually. I feel like that's one of the more top-tier conventional things that's true of 7 chords, but maybe not exclusively, but virtually always. Afterwards, we get F, F, B flat, and D, which is a tonic triad, B flat major over F. That's a 1-6-4 chord, and as we're getting close to the cadence, this is typically how we would expect to see the chord in some type of cadential configuration, but it gets interrupted here by E flat, G, B flat, and C. That is 2-6-5. That is C minor 7 over E flat. And then we get our F chord, F, F, A, and C, which is our 5 chord, F major, passing 7th, and then we cadence on B flat major, B flat, D, F, and B flat, which is our tonic triad. But going back to this 1-6-4 to 5, we can see that this 2-6-5 chord, 1-6-4 to 2-6-5 to 5. Sometimes we see Bach interrupt the 1-6-4 going to 5, and we usually see so with this neighbor tone in the bass. Sometimes above, sometimes below. Most of the time below, now that I'm like quickly indexing all of the times I can remember in my head. But this lower neighbor tone is almost like an ornament, interrupting the 1-6-4 and the 5, which typically share the bass. Notice how Bach goes back to the 5 immediately after these neighbor tones that are happening in the lower voices. So if we redact what's happening here with this 2-6-5 chord, we get the resolution the way we would expect. The B flat goes to A, the D goes to C, but here Bach just interrupts it with another chord. So we can put, one thing that I've done in the past is I put this little implied bracket here where it's hashed or dashed, but it's still showing the relationship between the two chords. It's just broken by the 2-6-5 chord. Okay, looking ahead, we are moving to the key of E flat before we get a plagal cadence, a very unusual cadence, in the key of C minor. It's almost as if we're like expecting a half cadence in the key of B flat, but then we get a turnaround and then we get C minor, which is, it kind of hits my ear by surprise. Maybe I'm just fabricating that, but to me, that's what it sounds like should be happening. So when we get the C minor chord, the E flat really hits differently. But starting the phrase off, I think we go immediately to the key of E flat. This B flat major chord here, D, B flat, F, and B flat is a tonic triad in first inversion here, so we could change the figured bass. But in the key of E flat, it is our 5-6 chord, and then we get E flat major, E flat, B flat, E flat, and G, which is our tonic triad in root position. Passing tones in the upper voices, we saw something very similar to this at the beginning of the B section. And then we get another tonic turning into a 5-4, D flat, E flat, G, and B flat, similar to how we started our second phrase of the B section. This is 5-4-2 of 4. In this case, E flat is functioning as the dominant of A flat, which is our 4 chord in the key of E flat. And that's where it's going to resolve. C, E flat, A flat, and C, which is not just 4, but 4-6. So it's resolving the exact same way that we saw our 5-4-2 chord resolve earlier. But this time, this is going to be our gateway to the key of C minor. The same way that A flat was our gateway earlier, it is now our 6 of 6. And I think that it's modulating here because we get, actually it's F melodic minor here, but we get a melodic minor fragment. It feels significant to me, and part of the reason why this phrase feels like a half cadence in the key of F is because we get this, I'm seeing it now, we get this melodic minor fragment in the key of F, and then we go down to C, but we keep the E flat. We don't have E natural, at least I don't think. Yeah, we have E flat here, not E natural, which is unusual, just because it's something like we would expect this E natural here, especially after hearing it in the bass here. But after this D natural passing tone in the bass, we get E, D flat, G, and B flat. This is E diminished 7th in root position, which is another secondary dominant. This is 7-7 of 4. In this case, E is the leading tone to F, and F is our 4 chord in the key of C minor, which is interesting because we get this secondary melodic minor fragment going on here, I would be compelled to say that we were in the key of F minor before C minor, but because we have the full context here, we can make this observation. But it resolves where we would expect it to, or so you would think. We get F, C, G, and B flat, but this G and this B flat create like a double suspension going on here, because F, C, G, and B flat, these upper voices are going to resolve down to where we would expect it to go. F and A flat has 1, 6, 4, 5 vibes, kind of the same resolution where it's down by step in the upper voices, just like we had here in the previous phrase, but here we're sustaining the open fifth in the lower voices. It's a very stable cadence. Sorry, I forgot the word for cadence. And then we cadence on C minor, C, C, E flat, and G. So we have this, what should have been, in my opinion, a half cadence, at least based on what my expectations were, turned into a plagal cadence. Pretty cool stuff. So our chorale is going to finish up with a perfect authentic cadence in the key of E flat, and we're going to start off with another one of these E flat 7 chords over D flat. I don't think we are quite yet in the realm of E flat major, but we're not far off. But yeah, we start things off with another secondary dominant. This is 5/4/2 of 6, because E flat is the dominant of A flat, and A flat is our 6 in the key of C minor, and it goes exactly where we would expect. C, A flat, E flat, and A flat, which is, sorry, not 4. I'm getting ahead of myself here. 6, 6. And this is going to be our gateway back to the key of E flat major. This is our 4/6 chord now. We then have B flat, E flat, and G, which is E flat major over B flat, which is 1/6/4. We saw a similar phrase to this earlier, 4/6/4, 1/6/4. But instead of A flat, we have A natural in the bass here, A, C, E flat, and F, which is a substitute for 2/6/5. This is 5/6/5 of 5, the result of naturalizing or raising the third of the 2/6/5 chord, making it natural rather than flat. In this case, turns it into a secondary dominant, but for all intents and purposes they function the exact same way. But after our 5/6/5 chord, we go where we would expect. We go to 5, B flat, D, and F, with a passing 7th here in the tenor as well. It's something that Bach typically does in cadences. And then we get E flat major, E flat, G, B flat, and E flat. Another observation with chorales that are in the key of E flat, Bach oscillates quite often between E flat and B flat in his E flat chorales. Just something that I observed from my data that I've been looking at over the last couple of days, because I've been sick with pneumonia. I think this is the first day that I started feeling some semblance of a recovery as well. So that made me feel uplifted, made me feel motivated to work today, but still feeling under the weather for sure. I have a couple of days of getting better to do. But that being said, sorry for getting off topic there. Bach does spend the majority of his time in E flat and B flat in this chorale, with little sprinkles of C here and there. Actually, he spends quite a deal of time in C minor here, but still mostly in E flat and B flat. That's going to be today's analysis. Everything's fairly straightforward. We had some interrupted 1/6/4 chords. Let me go ahead and add that dashed bracket here like I did earlier. We have some ambiguous cadences, whether they're perfect, authentic, or half cadences. I'll leave that up to you. And we also have some progressions that involve the tonic triad being turned into the dominant of 4. In major keys, that's a pretty interesting progression, especially when we get the tonic triad first. Even more interesting when we don't get the tonic triad and Bach just uses the 5/4 instead of the tonic. But we don't get that in this chorale. We get 1 followed by 5/4 quite frequently. But that being said, that's going to be all I have to say about the chorale today. If you're interested in following me along on the journey to analyze all of the chorale harmonizations, feel free to subscribe to the channel. You can hit the notification icon as well if you'd like to be notified of my daily upload. And you could also like the video if you liked the video. It helps the channel a lot, and it will get the the videos out to more people to watch, which would be really exciting to get and grow more of a community. But with all of that being said, thank you so much for watching the video and supporting the channel by doing so. I look forward to tomorrow's analysis, and I hope you take care.